Hello everyone, welcome to the 28th iOS tutorial. In this tutorial, the last tutorial of HttpRequest, we parse the JSON object, we recognize if it's a dictionary or array, then we read it step by step, and finally we show it in a table view. So let's move on. In previous tutorial, we reached to the point that we sent the request and we received the response, and now we have to parse this response or make it human readable and put it inside of our table. So before doing this, let's go back to the response and see what exactly we receive from the response. This is the website that we send our request, and this is the response, the kind of response that we get. So if I zoom in a little bit, you'll see this is kind of like JSON format, and we have some key and value, key value. Based on these key values, we parse the response. So in order to see the response more readable, there is a website. Let's search for this. We can say JSON formatter, and once you search for it, it brings this website, which is jsonformatter.curiousconcept.com. and if you click on it and go back here and copy paste the whole response, we can say Control Alt, and then go back here and press process. So it gives us a nice format with some keys. If I just collapse this, you will see all of our response is inside of these curly braces. So if I open this curly brace, I will see the first one is response, it's a key, and the value, we have something here. I just collapse it. So from the curly brace, I see this response format is dictionary because it has a key and value. So we have to store our data as a dictionary. It is very important. So let's go inside of this response and see what is this format. It's dictionary or something else. We have again, we have key and value, and also this is curly brace. So this is dictionary as well. So this response is dictionary as well. The whole response is a dictionary, and also the response, which is inside of here, is a dictionary. So let's go furthermore and see this result. This result is not dictionary anymore. It is array because it has bracket. So if I close this bracket, you will see we have at first a dictionary, and then response is again a dictionary, and result is an array. So inside of the result we have array. So let's open this array. Inside of this array, each item is again a dictionary. So it is at the first point it's complicated, but it's not that complicated as you think. It's very simple and it's very important because it may crash the application if you don't consider these facts. We can do something to avoid crash and say, okay, if you think that it's dictionary, put it as a dictionary, and if you think if it's array, put it as an array. But for simplicity of this application, I just make sure that everything that I select is the exact type that we have as a response. Then in separate tutorial, we will go over it and check if it's dictionary or if it's array. And so what we want here from this response is the web title, and also what else we need? We need that's it. I think web title and the type, section ID. These two items, we want to parse these two. So let's go back to our application. This is the place that we receive our data and the whole response. I copied 2 lines of code here. Don't worry, I will go over it. The first line is NS error. it handles all kind of errors in the second line. What is the second line? At first we'll define a dictionary because we defined that the whole response is a dictionary because of the curly brace and key value. So the whole response is dictionary, so we put the type as NS dictionary. We call it receive data. You can call whatever you want. And then we NS JSON serialization. We have to do for all JSON objects that we have, and we pass the data. This is the data that we received from the server. We put it here as JSON object with data, and with what option? Here are the option. NSJSON reading allow fragments. This you can just copy paste this line and don't worry about what exactly it's doing. And also the error is handling by the NS error that we define here. We put and sign and error. If we face during the serialization, if we face any kind of error, this error will not be nil anymore and it will show it in our response. So if I run the program and see what will we get. Since we added a breakpoint here, it stops here. If I go step over it, wait, this button, step over, and then step over one more time to make this empty variable have some value. Now I want to see what exactly we have in received data. Let's do it here. We can say PO received data and hit enter. If I go back and see what exactly we have, as you can see, we have exactly the response that we had in a website. It has a response, and inside of response we have results, and in results we have web title and also section name. So we have to go step by step to parse these content. So the next step is parsing response. We just parsed the whole response. Now we have to parse this response. So let's do it. Okay, we parse the whole data and put it in a dictionary. And what is next? The next step is to parsing the response. The value of this key is called response. So we want the content of this. So how do we do it? It's a dictionary. So we say response NS dictionary. Let's zoom in. We have NS dictionary response. We allocate. It's how we allocate a dictionary. In tutorial 8 we talked all about NS dictionary, and then we initialize it. This time we initialize it with another dictionary. With what dictionary? With this dictionary, with received data dictionary. So we initialize it, and what we need from this dictionary, we want an object that has a key which is called response. So whatever key we have here, if it was, I don't know, maybe dog or cat or anything, we would add this key here because it looks for this key. I added a breakpoint here, so when I run the program, it stops here, and I want to print the response. So if I look at the response, if you can see, it just shows the content of the response. It doesn't show the whole object. So because we just parsed the response, it just shows the content which is inside of this curly brace. What is next step? We want to see the result. So we want to have the content of the result. So let's go do it. Okay, this time we have to be careful about the result because it's not dictionary anymore. If you look at this curly brace, from this curly brace we understand that it's a dictionary. But in Objective-C, instead of bracket, it shows parentheses. So since it's parentheses, we understand that it's not a dictionary and it's an array. So how do we do it? Just go into the next line and paste this. We have an array. and we call it results because it's called results here, the name of the results. And we initialize it as any other arrays. So we say NSArray, alloc, init, and this time again, like this one with dictionary, this time we say it with an array. With what array? With this array. It's a dictionary, and if we look for a key, which is results, it returns a dictionary. So if we look for this key, it as a result returns an array. So that's why we assign it to an array. So we say init with array, and object for key, it's looking for this key and it assigns it back to the results. So if I run the program and stops at the breakpoint, it will show me PO and result. We can also watch this NSArray here. It will show all of the key pair values, but since it's more readable, we say results, and it shows the content of the results. See, we have section ID, section name, and web title. And now we are looking for the content, which is web title and section name. Okay, since we've reached to NSArray, an array has some items inside of it, we have to iterate through each item. You may say, what are these items? So if you look at the results, it has different items. The first item starts from here, this curly brace, and ends here. So if I close this, you'll see this is the first item. And what is inside of this item? It contains web title, web URL, and all of the stuff that we want to parse. So this is the first item, second item, and all of this. It's exactly like the whole items of this array. So we have to iterate through each item and then return all of our data. So let's iterate through it. In every programming language we have for loop. So we define a for loop. It's for, and it's very simple, defining an integer for iteration, and a condition. This condition shows the number of items inside of the array. We have the results, and this method, count, returns the number of items inside of the array. We say iterate until we finish the array. Okay, now we have to get each item of this array. Before that, we have to define to see what is the type of this item. If you go back to the results, each item starts from curly brace and ends with curly brace. So it's a dictionary. So this way we will figure out that the type of each item is NS dictionary because it also has a key and value. So let's go back. So we need to define NS dictionary and get each item. NS dictionary results item, and how do we get it? Results. This is this results that we have in NSArray, and we use this method object@index. This method is for NSArray, and we define this NSArray in our tutorial. You can watch that tutorial. And each time we change the iteration or object item. For example, the first time is index number 0. It returns the first item, and the next time it returns the object at the index 1, and so on and so forth. So what is next? We have to, once we get each item, now we have to parse each item. What is the type of each item? For example, for web title, the type of value is nothing but string. It's just a pure string. So I will define it as a string. I would call it a web title because this is exactly what we want, web title. And then I said results item, which is this one, and say object for key, the same method that we used here. Object for key. I say object for key, and what is this key? What is this web title come from? If you go back here, it comes from here. You have to copy paste the exact thing. If I wanted the section ID, I would copy paste this key and it would return this football. So, but since I need web title, I have to copy paste just the web title. It should be exact with the same capitalization and everything. So let's run the program and add a breakpoint here and see what will we get. Okay, we received this data and results and the web title. If I post the web title, say web title, and it returns exact thing that I want. And if I go to the next step, this is right now the I is 0. If I go one step ahead, the I is 1 right now. If I hover it, item 1 right now. If I print the web title again, it's the next item. If I go to the next iteration, I would be 2, and if I print the web title, it's the difference, the next item. So every time it changes. So this is kind of like a variable that is not storing the data. I want to store all of this data because once I leave this for loop, if I remove this breakpoint and put it back here, if I reach to this point, I don't have any web title. If I print it, since it was just a private variable that we defined here, it doesn't store it anywhere. So I have to store all of these web titles inside of an array. So later on, after we pass this for loop, I could access it. Let's define a property for our NS array, the one that we want to store all of the web titles. And we say non-atomic, strong, and it's NS mutable array because we want to each time add an array, add an item, so it should be mutable and changeable. So we call it web titles. And we lazy instantiate it. It's exactly like this, but I just copy paste it here. But the title would be this different. It returns NS mutable array, and it's web titles. I copy paste this. This is how we lazy instantiate it. If you are not familiar with this, you should watch the previous tutorials. We talked about this lazy instantiation. So the NS mutable array allocate it. So it's initialize it here, then we can use it for our data, get received data. We say self.webTitles and add object. Which object? Web title. It will add this item. So what else we need from this results item? And the other one is section name. So we need section name. We would do this exact same thing. I will just copy paste this. I will copy paste these 2 lines and I call it section name, and it should also look for a key which is called section name, and we have to define an array for these section names. So let's go back again and say assign property non-atomic strong NS mutable array, call it section names, and we do the same thing here. So we lazy instantiate it, initialize it, section names, and it's not cooperating. I want to do it fast. Section names, and we initialize it. Now we have to add it, section names, and it should add section name. So now if we reach to this point, let's run the program. Once we reach this point, we will see all of these arrays are filled with the objects that we exactly want. So let's get some print for these objects. po self dot web titles, and you see it contains all of the items that we are looking for. Same thing for po self dot section names. We have all of the section names. Now we can say that our received data and parsing data is kind of complete. Now we have to fill out our table view. If you remember, it was all inside of the table view. And one of the delegate methods of table view is number of sections in table view. Since we have just one section, I just go ahead and return 1 and remove this warning. And how many rows we have? The number of rows is equal to number of the items inside of our array. It could be web titles array or section name. Either way, we can send this. We can say self dot, for example, web titles dot count. It will return the number of items inside of this array. So it is the number of rows in each section. Now we have to figure out the cells, what we want to show in each cell. I remove the comment out, and remember we used a cell for this. We should put cell. Let me show you where is this cell come from. If you go to the storyboard, this is storyboard, and view the cell, it has an identifier that we added as a cell, and then we have to return this cell. If I click on it and view the inspector, this is where we call the cell. So it should be matched with this one. Use DVC. It should be matched with the exact identifier that we are choosing here. So let's get some more space here. And now, how do we configure the cell? We can cell dot detail text label dot text equals what do you want to put for the details? We want to put the section name, so we put self dot section name object at index. Since it's an array, object at index, and we use this index path dot row. And for the title, we would say cell dot title text label dot text equals, for the title we put self dot web titles object at index path dot row, and it gets each items inside of the web titles and show it as a title, and then we return the cell. So if I run the program, you will see nothing would happen and our table would be still empty, and you would wonder why it is. Because at the first time it goes through the steps and it reads all of the delegate methods of table view, but it's the first time it's empty because we just sent our request to the server and it's empty. But once we receive the data, we have to reload the table view. So when we receive the data, at the end of this method, we would say self dot table view and then reload data. This way it will go again through these steps and it reloads all of the data inside of our table view. Now we have the data.